Good day, family. This your girl Sage Wiley with another video. Today is May 31st, 2021. And what is so special about this day, it makes 100 years that the 1921 Tulsa race riots occurred, and again, as I said, Tulsa, Oklahoma. But before I go ahead and go over what the historical moments are for this special day right here, I just want to go ahead and say the necklace that I am wearing, Queen, you can purchase it from My Melanin, and I will actually include the link underneath this video. So again, this video is about the 1921 Tulsa race riots. As many of you know that I am an educator, I love history, and that is my passion. So as a disclaimer is that I have multiple degrees. I have a degree in criminology with a minor in chemistry and political science. I have a master's degree in criminal justice with an emphasis in legal studies. I also have a paralegal certification, so I'm pretty well versed with legal matters and what have you. Just give me a moment and if you tell me something, I'll go and look up something. In addition to that, I am a registered mediator for the state of Georgia. So I just want to put that out, just put my credentials out that I am pretty knowledgeable. So when it comes down to today, 1921, 100 years ago on Memorial Day, 1921 in Tulsa, Oklahoma, which was coined Black Wall Street by it's coined Black Wall Street. So during that period of time, that dollar, the African American recycled their dollar for 13 revolutions. Today, it leaves our community within, I want to say, like 6 minutes. So we have lost the value of buying black, and there's nothing wrong with buying with other races and what have you, but it's also something that's very important for us, or for any group of people that you spend with your own. If we look at it, the Arabs, they do it, the Indians, they do it, the Hispanics, they do it, and the Jews, they're very famous for spending their money within their community. Whereas African Americans, we have been conditioned to think that it is best for us to go outside of our communities, when in fact that we look at the total spending of African Americans, we spend over, if I'm not mistaken, $6 trillion, and within it, that's we're biggest consumers. So if you really look at that, you will be able to die 100,000 times and come back and still be wealthy. But fast forward into Black Wall Street. Black Wall Street, it was 36 blocks of African American community. So it considers what Greenwood, Archer, and Pine. That was the main thing, is Gap. And one of our musicians, believe it or not, the Gap Band, that is where they got their name from. They used to be called the Greenwood, Archer, and Pine sector. They're from Tulsa, Oklahoma. So one thing that I noticed, that for our history, and I'm a history teacher, our history is being rewrote or rewritten underneath our eyes. And just move forward for Tulsa, Oklahoma. Dick Rowland was a young man who was very smart. He was a smart mathematician and everything. Well, not mathematician, but math student. He wound up leaving, dropping out of high school and what have you, and took work up as a shoe shine young man. So shoe shine, you had to go into North Tulsa to actually get to get the business that you need. And so as a shoe shine boy, he was polished businessman and what have you. So he was in that white district. So that white district of Tulsa, Oklahoma. And I'm a caveat right on here. I did my research. I was able to go and speak with some of the descendants of the 1921 Tulsa race riots when I was working on writing a play for about the events that took place in Black Wall Street. And this year you will see that my play is going to be put into a graphic novel and series, because never will the story be hidden. All right, so moving back with Dick Rowland. Dick Rowland, the 19-year-old young man, needed to go to the restroom. So at that particular time, you had to go in the elevator and what have you. And it was a white young lady named Sarah Page that was in that in that elevator as well. And this is where the story gets kind of misguided. Some say that he did slipped, or some say that the elevator was shifting, whatever. Regardless of what happened, the event, why it happened, Dick Rowland wound up touching the young lady. And during that time, during Jim Crow, that it was Jim Crow, during that period, it was that the black man was considered a monster. And still today, he still is considered a monster. But better yet, by Hillary Clinton, she calls our black men predators. So moving forward on that. So he didn't go to the restroom. So that young lady who was having issues of her own and was also a divorcee, she wound up telling a lie, saying that he raped her. So Dick Rowland wound up going and telling his aunt, because he was living with his aunt at that time, telling the events what happened. He was very nervous about what was going on. I mean, what would happen to him, considering the fact that leading up to May 31st, 1921, previous summers, it was like bloodshed. So you had blacks that were being lynched, that were being targeted for it, and that during that time. So he was very concerned for his safety. Long story short, it got word about it was going to be a lynching in Tulsa. So the newspaper put this out and what have you. And if you try to go today to look for the events in the newspaper, you would see that it is taken away. So that was one of the issues that I had when I went to go and look at the the microfilms and whatever. And where I go and do my research here in Atlanta is the Auburn African American Research Library. So I had individuals who were helping me on gathering the truth. So the newspaper, the media exploited this. Okay, now moving on, let's go back on to what I was going to say. And I apologize, this video is going to be a little longer than I anticipated. Black Wall Street, or the Greenwood area, was considered a landmine. During that time, there were many black-owned businesses. There were surgeons. We also had those individuals who invested in oil. We had those individuals who invested in not only oil, but in real estate. So we had that going on, for us. So it was also connected to the city, and they were considering they had a train that was bringing in forward. So if you know anything about the logistics of transportation, back then trains were used to bring a lot of goods to there. So that was prime land. So it was calculated. These individuals, or these whites in Tulsa, they already had their eyes set on this particular area. So we could even look at it today this is called gentrification. When we're seeing that our environments or our communities that were once black owned are now being occupied by those who do not look like us. And we see that the prices go up. That's for design. Okay. So this was prime time. All they needed was a match to go ahead and take what they wanted. So that particular time, it was like the lynching is going to be, we're going to lynch this guy, the Dick Rowland. So they wind up getting Dick Rowland. Now, this is where I love this part on here. Regardless of all the stuff that took place on it, the men or the people in the community, they said enough is enough. No one's going to come in here and they're going to take us. It's not going to be another lynching. We are tired of this. So the sheriffs, and they actually had one black sheriff there, or one cop there in Tulsa, Oklahoma. He was a token, but he could only arrest people within the Greenwood district. He could not arrest those individuals who are white in other parts of Tulsa. So he warned the people about what was going on, the blacks in Greenwood. So the black men said, we're going to arm ourselves and we're going to protect our families. So long story short, they wound up getting Dick. They took him to the courthouse and what have you. And then all hell broke loose. So within 13 hours, you would see that something that took years to build came tumbling down. And so one of those things that took place is it was lynchings and not lynchings, burnings. They dug ditches. When I say dug, the whites, they dug ditches, and they were parading the men down the street like this with their hands up, and they were killing them. And so what did they do with those bodies? They discarded them in ditches. So they went for the men, but we fought back. 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 And so at that during that time, it was a deputy. Those white men, it didn't matter who you were being deputized right then, and they took an oath that they were going to protect their own. Okay, so just like the whites said they were going to protect their own, so did the blacks say they were going to protect their own. So at that time, you didn't have to go through any police training or whatsoever to become deputized. They deputized those white boys and women and whatever on the spot. So that gave them time. So they went in, they took the ammunition, they were going in there and shooting folks up, burning their homes and taking their belongings. And one of the things that I recall that I said in my book, it is that one white guy said this: they are living better than we are. Okay, so it was jealousy, it was envy, it was greed, it was hate, it was all the above. All right, so moving forward, they tore those places down, and when it came down to, for it, that this was the first time aerial bombing took place in America. The first time. So you had those planes that were coming and dropping handmade bombs on these people. All right. So all of that destruction took place. Now, this is what happened. I like to say this right here. For those individuals who have been in a natural disaster, you know that when the storm hits, it's very mind-boggling. It's very mind-boggling, period. But it comes when you have to go and clean up the remnants of after the storm. That's what hurts. You got to move on. You got to see your memories. You got to see, the people that were actually hurt, the casualties and everything. So that next day, or those, after the smoke was, dissipated and what have you, this is what happened. So they reclaimed, the whites took what was the Greenwood Archwood, the Greenwood district. After a period of time, get this, how savage they are. They did not have any people to come and clean their homes. So those individuals those black domestic workers, they couldn't go and clean those white people's homes. So this is what they did. They displaced them. This is where you have the first concentration camps that was before Adolf Hitler. So pay attention to what I'm going to say. Those individuals, those blacks who were misplaced, they were put into a park. It was a baseball park. That's where they had to stay. They were displaced. They had to stay there. And in order for them to go back to work, to clean their homes, they had to have papers. They had to have papers and showing where they were going. Does this sound familiar? Nazi Jews. Nazi, the Nazis, when they had to have the patch of the Star of David to go to and from. They had that, and so that was one thing that happened. The aerial bombing, they then had to have papers to go to go in to and from back, whatever. Now, this is the kicker thing right over here. These people were also, these blacks, they owned their stuff. When they went to do insurance claims for fires and everything like that, those people who were the whites, they said this, well, get this fire is not caused, is not something that is under your policy. All right, so they couldn't get anything. So get this, they then started raising the prices for bricks and lumber and all that stuff for them to rebuild. For over a year, these blacks who were misplaced, they stayed in these camps. So like how you see when some of the place now, you see that folks were staying in, these concentration camps in their tents. They still worked on it. John Hopewell Franklin was one of the attorneys there to push forward to make sure that these individuals who were misplaced, who were savaged, who were brutalized, who were killed, who were burned out of their homes, who were, the men were, immediately, castrated and from their families. He made sure that their voices were at least heard. It took a while. It took a while. And here's a caveat right here, how God or the universe is. When it came down to the Great Depression during that time, 1929 and 1931, Black Wall Street, they did rebuild. It wasn't as strong, but this is a community that did not suffer during the Great Depression. Let me say that again, like Dr. Umar Johnson said. They did not suffer like the rest of the world during the Great Depression. So if you go to Tulsa, Oklahoma right now, you'll be disheartened to see that you don't see the actual Greenwood, Orchard, and Pine anymore. You would see a university. That's Oklahoma University right there. There's one place that is still standing, and that is the North Tulsa church. So the churches back in the day were very pivotal for helping people, helping the community. I would like for us to get back to that, where religion, regardless of what you practice, it was a place that you can go for peace, that you can go for healing, that you can actually go for, help, that we help our brethren. All right. So that is one thing that took place after the destruction of the Tulsa race riots. So we looking into it. They were trying to get reparations. Fast forwarding now, we're trying to get reparations for it. And it was even in President Obama's term that he presented to Congress that these individuals who were misplaced, that they should receive reparations. This is what Congress said. Well, we don't know exactly where these people are, where these blacks who were so-called misplaced and killed, we don't know where they are. That's a bunch of crap. Because if you think about it, the Trail of Tears by that, I'm even gonna get in. You think about the Trail of Tears and what Native Americans, didn't they receive reparations? Then in addition to that, what about the Jews? Didn't they see reparations? Huh? Let's talk about even we can even go into the Gaza Strip, and we're talking about the misplacement of the Palestinians and the Jews, how they're fighting over that. Okay, so they still got reparations. Look, you know what I'm saying? But here we are, we didn't. But if you have the opportunity to go and visit Tulsa, Oklahoma, you will feel the history, the love, the fear, the pain within that. They do have a monument that is right out there where you can look to see those individuals who were affected, by it. One of my ancestors, well, I thought it was an ancestor, I did research on it. His name was Charles Warren. Come to find out, we weren't, related. But I interviewed some of those individuals who were there in Tulsa, and I asked them, did they know anything of the events? They said no. And what led me to go and research something about Tulsa is I was at the gym years ago, really many years ago, and this trainer, I asked her where she's from. She started saying all this stuff. I love traveling. And I love traveling to get the culture, and I am a teacher that I love bringing real life artifacts inside my lessons and whatnot. So I'm just like saying, okay, when I go to Tulsa, what's there besides the Native American reservation? She just said the 1921 Tulsa race riots. What is that? Piqued my mind. Never heard of it. I took AP classes and for history and the whole not. Never heard of it. It was for a reason. They're hiding who we are and what we stand for. They're hiding our greatness. He who has the key to your history controls you. I am all about reclaiming our identities, restoring faith in the black man, the black woman, the black child. I'm all about that family. So I wish all of you to, again, get all of the facts. Learn about your history. Read several articles before you make your opinion. And that even goes when you're looking at people's character. I'm saying this to this individual. He knows who he is. I forgive you. I forgive you. Because guess what? You don't know who you are. You don't know your greatness. You don't know your king status. I see it, but you have to see it in yourself. This is your girl Sage Waleed with another video, and I just wanted to say we will not be forgotten.